Hey there, hi there, hello there, good morning, and welcome back to Inner Drones at Dawn podcast. Great to have you out there. Just a reminder, this is live, so please engage with us, ask us your questions, give us positive encouragement. We love to see that. So welcome back, and this week, this is a continuation of our diversity, equity, and inclusion themed month, and today we are focused on global diversity. What a pleasure and privilege it is to have Eszter Kovacs with us here today. Eszter was the former Secretary General of the Global Unmanned Traffic Management Association, GUTMA, and she now is CEO of her own company, which we're going to talk about, Manageld, and also is co-leading DroneTalks Academy. So we've got so much to talk about. Welcome to the podcast, Eszter.
Thanks, Dawn. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a fantastic topic. So I feel really privileged to talk to you about diversity in the drones UAM ecosystem. So yeah.
Well, awesome. And for those that don't realize this, Eszter is actually coming at us live from Switzerland. So way across the pond there, and they're doing some amazing things out there in Europe. And so let's just jump right in, Eszter. Let's talk first about GUTMA and your experience there. Can you tell us a little bit about that mission? Because, you know, the first word of the title is global. So tell us about that.
Yes, so the Global UTM Association is global, as mentioned. They have 30 members across the globe, mostly UTM companies, but ANSPs, drone manufacturer, researcher bodies, and, as mentioned, covering the whole globe. So they have African, Asian members. And I should say that they do a pretty good job. The association was established around 5 years ago, and they grew rapidly. Currently, they have 9 board members. For example, Google and AirMap are the presidents, Ronaldo Negro from Google and Sebastian Babayars from AirMap. And also there is Airbus and Invalid, the Australian ANSP. So the association is definitely a strategic partnership point for the stakeholders to get together and try to find a solution regarding traffic management, unmanned traffic management, which kind of pleased everyone in the ecosystem and try to work together. And because it's a really diverse organization, it has its own challenges, I should say that. And but I think we will deep dive on this topic. So I love to mention that, however, I'm not a Secretary General anymore of the association, but my startup runs the marketing and communication stream of the association. So we are still very heavily engaged with them. And yeah.
No, well, thank you very much for that. And, you know, I want to stick with that a little bit more and ask you, why do you think it's so important that these discussions are global versus just localized?
I think there are multiple reasons. For first, I think companies want to create products to be able to implement and to be used everywhere globally, right? So the companies don't want to stay local. They want to create revenue, scale. So how can you be globalized as a startup if you don't listen to the whole stakeholders globally? The people who are going to use your service, who are going to use your product, who will be your ecosystem when you will scale and grow. You know, you must engage with the people who will be using your product. Otherwise, you're always going to be a local business. And, you know, this is not how any of the business owners want to go. So if you want to be global, you need to be engaged with global stakeholders. I think that's the first. And on the second hand, you know, Global UTM Association is about designing an unmanned traffic management system which is harmonized with ATM systems. For that, we talk about a lot of cross-country flights. We talk about operations from America to Europe, you know. We talk about cross-continent operations. So you must, again, engage with the stakeholders to be able to understand their needs and to be able to kind of create something which is usable for their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eszter, you've been involved in Gutmann. We're going to talk about your company and some of your current enterprises. But tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you even get involved in this ecosystem?
So, long story short, I'm an engineer, maybe surprise for a few people here listening. So I finished in Hungarian National University as a safety engineer in the military. But I decided I don't really want to engage, in that direction in my career, and I wanted to go to the civil sector. So I spent a few years, actually 12, 13 years in multinational companies, leading programs, more technology programs, Internet of Things or IT implementations. And the last place where I work, that's called GSMA, which is a Global Association for Telecom Companies. So there is 700 telecom companies get together and work on different solutions where people use cellular as an innovation, like mobile money, like when you pay with your mobile phone, you use cellular basically, and other like smart meter reading, so they have a SIM card as well in it. So it sends the data to the service provider, and this kind of solutions. And this association had this hub, right, where they started to investigate, okay, what happened if they use cellular for BVLOS drone flights? And I got that program under me. And it was super interesting. We had I think 5 telecom companies working on it. How can we utilize cellular for BVLOS flights? It was 5 years ago. And when I left, they were 50, 52. So it boomed because, they all seen the business potential in it. And they all wanted to add other value services as well, not just cellular, flying BVLOS, drone. But they understood there is a lot of other extra value what cellular connectivity can give. So I led that program. And long story short, when the talk was realized there is something here, I realized as well, leading that program. And I was like, okay, I felt a little bit limited, working for one company and running this initiative. So I was always a little bit entrepreneur. And I just decided, look, I want to leave and I want to do bigger than that one small piece of this cake. And following on that, I started to freelance and I started to join GTMA. I was a secretary general there, and in the meantime, I launched DroneTalks and DroneTalks Academy with Lorenzo Murzilli.
Yeah, so wow. So your background between engineering and Internet of Things, and then cellular and working BVLOS with cellular, you bring so much to the table to this industry. So I'm glad you launched out on your own to become an entrepreneur. So let's talk a little bit about that. You just launched, now I want to pronounce it correctly. Is it Manageld or Manageld?
Yes, it's Manageld.
Manageld, that's what I thought it was. So tell us about your company that you just launched.
So it's not really new. So when I left GSMA, I launched this company to be a freelancer in the drone ecosystem, and it's super funny because I think this is what's one of my advice to the audience, to be agile. However, I came from a safety engineering, techie focused background. I ran multiple programs, so I was in the end more a program manager. But initially I thought okay, I will have a program manager agency and we will run fantastic drone programs, but there was no need for it, however, we were, I think, really good. We really knew what we talk about. People didn't want to outsource program management. They all wanted to kind of, kept in-house. And there was no business need, and this is the part where I had to kind of rethink and be a little bit agile and react on the external push of the industry. And GTMA asked me in the beginning to be a com lead, communication lead, because what they recognized was that it's really hard to find people who can go public and talk about drones in a way others understand, and also understand the questions, be able to react, So basically, to combine the two, it's really challenging. So this is how we got in communication, my company. And after more and more company ask us to talk about different topics regarding cellular technology, and write content expert articles. And this is how we shuffled more and more on communication marketing as well, not just program management. And Manageld, it's a communication program management marketing agency at the moment, because the external need was that. So we changed. I hired a few people who are experts in communication and marketing, and we combined my knowledge of the drone ecosystem with that.
Well, that's brilliant. And as we always said in the United States Air Force, flexibility is the key to air power, right? So the fact that you really were looking strategically and thinking, all right, I had this value proposition, nobody's really buying this value proposition, what is the need, and figuring that out. And absolutely, I agree that being able to talk to people about what is happening in technology and in drones in a way that they understand, because as we're focused on this global diversity topic, Eszter, this idea that public acceptance is really key. And that means on a global scale, right? So important. And I know that you've just launched recently, you did launch recently the DroneTalks Academy. And I love the fact that it's actually global in your content. You're thinking about not just Europe, where you're based, but other countries and what they are doing as part of the curriculum. So let's talk about that. But I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Garrick Booker, who said good morning and thanked us for our great information. So good morning, Garrick. Really appreciate your comment, and hope other people chime in and talk to us as well. So Eszter, tell us a little bit about DroneTalks Academy, what it is.
So yes, thanks, Dawn, for the question. And hello, Garrick. I love when someone is that brave commenting or asking questions. So Garrick, you are the star of this discussion. Please, I really love interactive podcasts. I'm not sure, Dawn, if you agree, but again, we can talk about anything here, but if we know what you are interested in, we talk about that. So please drop a line there. But what I wanted to say, so DroneTalks. It's a funny story, because I never wanted to own a media platform or anything like that again, and that's not the goal of DroneTalks. But I went more and more meetings with European Commission, FAA, and others when I was a section of GUTMA. And I recognize that I see always the same faces everywhere. I see the same 20 people in all the discussions where I join, and I close my eyes and I know who is those 20 people who I will see when I dial into a meeting. So I just made me think, hey, there is only 20 people really who can talk about drones, or where are the others? Like, why they are not visible, what their thoughts are. And that was the first idea of mine. And after that, I was like, okay, there are these people out there, the CEOs of the companies. And basically, how does it work, right? These CEOs of the companies want to make money. They are the CEO of drone companies. They want to make money. So what they do, they go and lobby at governments. So they constantly go to Washington, to Brussels, and where they need to lobby, they put their fantastic regulatory team and lobby like hell, because they want to make a good revenue. So what do they do with that? They influence the whole market, because basically, if they lobby enough strong, it decides the regulation, what is going to be good for their company. But by the way, it's going to decide the whole country. It's going to decide everything, how drones going to integrate to the air traffic management system, because obviously the regulator going to listen to the industry. They have open discussions. They want to know what the industry needs. They want to enable the industry on some level. Of course, keep in mind safety, but because of that, I was like, okay, these people are the ones who are going to decide what's going to happen with drones, UAM and UTM. Why do we hide them? Why we don't know who are the CEOs of these companies? So I started to go and record these discussions with the CEOs, and I wanted to understand what's their business decision, how they see the market, where they come from, and this is how Drone Talks born, basically. And after that, we recorded the discussions. It was a boom, and just people just started to watch because they want to know as well who are the CEO of Drone Delivery Canada, or who are the CEO of Kitty Hawk, and what they think about business and revenue. So this is how it's kickstarted and going pretty successfully, I think.
And how is it evolving, Eszter, over time?
Hi, Scott. Sorry, before I reply, I see someone else commented. Great, Scott. You are fantastic. Yes, exactly. We need to empower more people, a voice. Otherwise, only one or two gonna influence the regulation. Totally agree. So DroneTalks is going great. It's just booming unexpectedly. So we had to hire people. We had to kind of work better quality of the videos to get better that side as well. And it's going really fantastic. So following on that, Lorenzo Murzilli, who used to work for a Swiss government, maybe the guests know him. He is the leader of the JARUS Working Task 6, which came up with SORA. And he is also involved with a lot of initiatives. He left the government. So I asked him, hey, do you want to join to DroneTalk? And basically he set up his own consultancy focusing on regulation and certification. So he said, okay, let's do something here. And this is how we launched DroneTalks Academy, which is a diploma program, 7-day diploma program. People who are already kind of in a drone ecosystem, but want to understand better regulation, privacy, hardware, software, business opportunities. So invited fantastic guest lecturers like you, Dawn, and others from the ecosystem, because we do believe in that we need to involve people from the field to give knowledge on that particular expertise, what they have, to be able to design this 7 full days program to get the best knowledge from people who are really doing the work. So we invited CEOs of drone companies. We invited SORA Consulting, who approves hundreds of SORA, who sent for approval hundreds of SORAs in worldwide. We invited startup owners, as I mentioned, and aviation company owners to lecture the classes. So basically, this is how it evolved. Now we have an academy program for 7 days, which gonna kickstart now in April. And we also aim to have a networking part of the academy program. So we don't believe in this one-way communication where we go tell you what's going on, more like an interactive small group discussions with maximum of 5-7 participants, and have close connections together with the guest lecturers and the participants to really reply on their needs. So this is how we build up basically the academic program.
I love that, because it really ties into what you said earlier about empowering people to go out there and have these discussions, right? Engage. And to Scott Schofman's point, thanks, Scott, for chiming in, talking to regulators. I think that is so important. I mean, I think with you, Eszter, on a number of Facebook forums, we've got LinkedIn and a number of ways that we communicate with people to get that word out as to kind of what is the latest, what is going on. And I think you know this, Eszter, that I teach at Colorado State University, Pueblo. And one thing I tell my students is, and I really try to instill this in them, go to the primary sources. If someone's talking about a regulation or a law, crack it open yourself. Don't be afraid to do that. You don't have to go to law school. I mean, you're not a lawyer, Eszter, right? You're an engineer, but you're an expert in the regulations. And it's because you just take the time to read them, Sometimes they're frustrating and not, not very well written, but, you can usually get the point, and really educating yourself and diving deep into those books. And what you're doing with DroneTalks Academy to have those conversations and to empower people to do just that globally is wonderful. So without revealing too much of your secret sauce there, Eszter, can you tell us a little bit about like the global content that you expect to have? You mentioned a little bit about the global faculty, but what are the topics and what are the things that you want people to really dig into in DroneTalks Academy, your certification class?
Yes, so this academy is really, really interactive. I think that's the first point what we need to talk about. So we have 4 modules, and starting with the regulation, exactly, Dawn, as you mentioned, I know the regulation because I must know, because that decides my revenue next month or the next year or in 2 years. So if you think you don't need to know the regulation and influence it, you're making a big mistake. and you have to wait to go. You wait, someone else influencing it, and you hope it's going to end up in a favor of you, but maybe not, That's one way to do. And the other way, you understand it, you engage with people who already know what it is, and after you start to think about who should I talk to, who should I engage with, to be able to input it on a way which beneficial for me, right? So this is one of the module what we go through. We will go through the American, European, Asian, Indian, African regulation, and understand and have an interactive discussion about what you need to do to get involved, to influence those regulations. We will have a hardware day, hardware software technology day, where we will talk about what is basically behind the hardware, software, very high level only. We don't go too deep, but we understand if you don't get the point how these technologies build on each other, you will be not able to design something or create a service which can, connect to the drone or connect to the whole product. So we will go through that. The third day is operation. So we will discuss about SORA certifications, how drone operates, what you need to do to operate. So again, very high level, but it will be able to clarify a lot of questions of yours. And again, very strategically, high picture, how this all aligned. So it's not going to be like a detailed, more like if you run a business, what you need to know about drone operations. And the last day is a business day, where we will talk about investor overview. We invited an investor who tell us why he invests in a company, why he don't, related drone companies. We also will review the business topics, global stakeholders, privacy, and security, and all the business related questions will be answered there. So I think this is the 4 modules which we go through in 7 days, and the 7 days is in 6 weeks. So we always have 2 days in 2 weeks, basically, in the program. Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing cross-cutting set of topics that you have. And again, global, the countries that you're mentioning. What I love also about InterDrone is that they are really incorporating global content into their event that's going to be 10 to 12 August in Dallas, Texas. So hope to see a lot of you there. Looking forward to being the first, we hope, live event. That's going to be amazing. So let me ask you this, Eszter. Great content, great faculty. How do people plug in? How do they sign up? How do they get involved more with DroneTalks in general and DroneTalks Academy certification?
Yes, so very shortly, go to our webpage, DroneTalks.online. We have these new t-shirts. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's brand new, so now I'm wearing it, and getting into marketing and com, right? So go to the webpage. There is an academy part there, and click on it and sign up, or email us, schedule a call. we're happy to discuss, if you have any question. We actually, last week, we got a request from a Costa Rican government. They emailed us and they said, hey, we cannot get involved on those days where you have the course, but can you tailor one for us? So we are in a discussion to tailor one to the Costa Rican government, so funny enough. And so the other thing, I'm not sure if you can drop here in the chat that I would like to offer a 20% off for everyone listening. So if you use the code DroneTalks20 in the checkout, you can get 20% off from the final price. And I love, there is another question here, Dove. I'm not sure
see that.
if you
Yeah.
have.
I can see it from Massachusetts, engineering. So would you expect it to be easier for manufacturers to update their firmware to add remote ID, or for third-party companies to manufacture remote ID modules for older drones?
So the question is, in Europe or in America? I am not sure.
My guess is, since he's coming from Mass, I think it's a he. I'm not sure, so I apologize. It's very tiny and it's like a handle. So I'm assuming US, but I don't know that it really matters, honestly, because if you have an external module versus updating firmware. Yeah.
I think, again, of course I can reply as an engineer, but regulation is the question, because engineers meet with the regulation, right? So I can design you anything and I can say of course it's easy, but you need to meet with the regulation. So regarding remote ID in Europe, the regulation is if it's use space, it should be cellular. The regulation came out like 2 weeks ago. And it says if it's use space, it should be a cellular, which means you need to have a SIM card in that modem, what you ask. So in my opinion, at the moment, what they do in Europe, they have a hookup device. A lot of people, they don't build into the drone and they just hook on to the drone, and they use it for remote identification. They put the SIM card. Later on, I believe they need to design it to the drones. If you want to use cellular for remote identification, if you don't want to use cellular, as it in the US, it's not there. I think easier for manufacturers to update their firmware to add remote ID. Yes, I don't think so any problem with that. No, I think it's easy. And I think at the moment, I don't see too many third companies manufacture these remote ID modules. So I think they should do the drone manufacturers, because I don't think so they should wait until someone comes to the market. It's too late. So I think they should be able to do it. Yeah.
So this is exactly the kind of dialogue that I expect you'd have as part of your DroneTalks Academy. And so we have just a few minutes left, Eszter. Let's just call it your 30-second elevator speech. What do you want to leave the folks here with before we do a couple ending announcements and dial off for the day?
So I think we talked enough about we haven't talked enough about diversity. And I think my message here is, you cannot build a company, a product, or you cannot lead a program with the same people like you involved only. So you're never going to be able to sell your product or provide service globally if you're not enough diverse. To being diverse, you need to involve to the discussion different background people, different color people, and different age people, young, old. And I think that should be the takeaway here. If you talk about diversity, think globally, because it's your own benefit. It's not a favor what you do to me or to anyone in the planet. It's your own benefit, and you will raise your own revenue, because end of the day, you want to create a product to everyone. So you need to involve everyone to that discussion. So think in the light of that. Yeah.
Think globally. I think that's your bottom line takeaway, and absolutely agree, which is exactly why you're the perfect person to have on this podcast this morning, Eszter. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody that's out there. We're continuing on next week with actually a global company, Skydio. They will be talking about their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So, and as you know, they're doing incredibly well in the United States with their autonomous drones. So one extra bonus podcast coming up, by the way, everybody. You're going to see a screen here in a second. But this Saturday, the 20th of March, I'm going to be beaming live from the Wings Over the Rockies Museum here in Denver, Colorado. It is their Women in Aerospace Showcase as part of Women's History Month. And so we're going to have amazing people on there, folks like Vic Moss from the Drone Service Providers Alliance. We're going to have folks from UAS Colorado, all kinds of people from the Wing Over the Rockies, and maybe just a couple random folks I'm going to grab out of the audience as well. So we're going to be coming live from that event on the floor there at that. And next week, we are going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to many people's hearts, and what we've seen a lot in the last year, some tensions in the United States. We're going to be talking about racial diversity, and we're going to be talking with Hernanda White. She created a company called Black Girls Drone. And so I'm so excited to speak with Hernanda about her initiative to bring drone and STEM to underserved and underprivileged communities, to inspire girls and women of color to jump into the drone industry. So more to follow there. But thank you again, Eszter. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you Saturday, and hope to see you next Monday as well. Out here.
Bye.